So our learning target for today, we're focusing on simple interest. Our learning target is I can find the simple interest given the principal, the rate, and the time. So each of these letters that you're seeing here in this formula represent a concept with money called simple interest. So I is going to represent interest that you can receive on something that you've invested in or something that you've borrowed from. Okay, so that's an important thing to understand, that I represents money. It represents money interest. And it's based off of something that you've invested or earned. So it's interest that you're earning on an account or interest that you're going to owe from an account. If you have invested money, you are earning interest. Investments are a good thing. That's how you are able to earn interest without having to do anything physically yourself. You put money into an account, the account does well in the economy, then it causes your interest to go up. You don't have to actually do any work. When you owe interest, that's when you have borrowed money. So if you borrow money from a bank for like a loan for a house or a loan for a car or student loans, or maybe you've even borrowed money from a friend and they've decided to charge you interest, then that's money you have to pay back. P represents the word in our learning target, principal. That's the principal. That is also money. That's the money that you are investing or borrowing. So when you put money into an account, that's the principal that you are investing. When you take out a loan, that's the principal that you are borrowing. So it's what money you have invested, you've put it into an account, or it's what money you have borrowed, you're taking from the bank. Then we've got R. R is going to represent the rate. And as you guys have gotten used to it so far, and should still be used to it now, rate is a percent. And what is a percent always out of? 100. We should get used to that. This is always going to be our percentage out of 100. You are always going to set it up as the rate over 100, the percent over 100. And you need to make sure that you keep with that. And then T represents time. And it's a very specific value of time. Time must be in years. So right below that, I want you to write, it has to be in years. So if you come across a problem that says it's in months, then you're going to take months and divide it by 12. Why do you think we're dividing by 12? Hayden? Because 12 months equals 1 year. Okay, so if you are wanting to convert your months into a year value, you would divide it by 12. So most of the time they'll give it to you in years, but if it comes down to they're like, oh, it's going to be 3 months, oh, it's going to be 8 months, you would just put that value over 12. That represents it as a year. Okay? Now, the last thing that you need to understand is the difference between whether the question asks for the interest or if the question asks for a final amount. So if the question asks for interest, it'll be very straightforward. It will say, how much interest? Okay, it will literally ask in the question, how much interest? If the question is not asking for interest, if the question is asking for a total, how much is she going to have to pay back? How much money is she going to have in her account? How much total money is she going to owe? That's all considered to be final amounts. So at the top of your paper, write down final amount can be found by taking whatever your principal was and adding whatever you get for your interest. So you would have to solve for the interest first by doing this formula. And then you would take that answer and add it with the original principal. That's it. So the hardest part that kids mess up on is distinguishing between whether they just have to solve for interest or whether they have to solve for their final amount. So let's go ahead and do a few examples. Again, very quick and simple formula to follow. We're going to set it up just like we've done with the percent proportion. I'm going to break it down into the parts. I want to know what every value represents. So I need to figure out the I, the P, the R, and the T. Remember, each of these represents something. So let's take a look at the problem. It says Liz has an account with $500 that earns 8% simple interest. After 3 years, how much interest will she earn? So let's start with the $500. This is the only part that's money, isn't it? It's either going to be an interest or a principal. So is this money that she's currently got, or is it money that she's going to earn? That's the money she currently has. That's your principal. She has an account. The account has $500 in it. We're going to highlight that in blue, or box it with our blue. That's our principal. So I'm going to go ahead and put down $500. So I know principal here is 500. Then we're going to multiply that by the rate. What's my rate? What's my percentage? 8%. So am I just going to say I'm going to multiply by 8?
No, you have to add your percent.
Okay. Or what else did I say? You had to put it over 100. You got to put 8 over 100. So R is not just 8, it's 8 over 100. It's 8 over 100, or 8 divided by 100. That's what the rate is. That represents 8%. 8 over 100 is the same thing as 8%. Okay, and then you're going to multiply that by your time. What's our time? 3 years, right? And we need it in years. Don't forget, in fact, write it right next to here that you need it in years. Time needs to be in years, which it is. So we're going to multiply those together. Now the question, let's identify what the question's asking. What does it want? Does the question want interest, or does the question want final amount? Interest. How do we know? Because it says how much interest. It's asking how much interest. So that's the only bit of information we need to find. We just need to solve for the interest. So once we multiply these together, we're going to do 500 times 8 over 100, or 8 divided by 100, times 3. Subtract, put it away. That's going to come out to a total of $120. So there's the interest. Let's take a look at problem number 2. Arnold took out a loan for $580. Oop, $580. That's my principal. Took out a loan. Remember, loans or stuff that you have in your account already, those are all considered to be the principal. So I automatically know I've got 580. The interest rate is 3%. There's my interest. There's my R. But what do I have to put it over? 3 over what? 100. Good. So we're going to multiply by 3 over 100. He's going to have the loan for 3 months. There's my time, but uh-oh. It's in months. What do I need to do? Divide it by 12. In fact, put right next to the side of this, months over 12. That's important for you to remember. Months need to be over 12. So we have 3 over 12. Okay, and all of that is going to be equal to my interest. Let's see what the question's asking for. How much total? Is total the same thing as interest? No. Total is not the same thing as interest. So that means after we do this, what do we need to do after that? What did I tell you guys to write at the very top of your paper? Final amount equals P plus I, right? Principal plus your interest. So once you found your interest, you're going to add that onto your principal because it's asking us for that final amount, principal plus interest. Very important for you to know that. We want to know the total. That means we need to figure out the final amount. Okay, so let's first go ahead and multiply. We're going to do 580 times 3 over 100 times 3 over 12. You're going to get a fraction. If you type them in as fractions, you're going to get a fraction answer. You just need to hit that conversion, that double white button at the bottom. It'll convert it to the money for you, the decimal. It'll be $4.35 for your interest. And now we're going to find our total. And total is going to be found by taking our principal, which was 580, and then adding it with our interest, which was the $4.35. So when we combine those together, that's going to equal $584.35. So again, you only divide by 12 if they give it to you in months. You only add these two values together if they're asking for a total amount. If they're only asking for interest, you just do the I-party formula and you stop at that point. Okay, go ahead and try problems 3 and 4 on your own. Very easy stuff, try them on your own. Okay, problem number 3. Lewis took out a car loan for $5,000. Car loan right there, that's going to represent the principal. So we've got $5,000. He takes 2 years to pay it back. So 2 years, there's our time. And he's going to have a rate of 3%. So there's our rate. And we're going to put 3 over 100. We want to know how much did he pay back? How much did he pay back? Is that interest or is that total? Does it say interest? Does it say how much interest did he pay back?
Yes.
Does it say how much interest? No. Do you see the word interest in here in the question? No. This is not asking for the interest. It's asking for the total. Remember, I told you, if it wants to know the interest, it will explicitly say how much interest. It does not say how much interest. It says how much did he pay back. Guys, he has to pay back the loan, right? I borrow $5,000 from you. Do you want me to pay you my $5,000 back? Yeah. So I'd have to pay that $5,000 back as well as the interest that you charged me. Okay? That's how this works. So yes, we're going to solve for the interest first. But then we have to add that value to the principal to find out how much total he's going to have to pay back. So when we multiply 5,000 times 3 over 100 times 2, that's going to come out to 300. Then we're just going to find the total. We're going to go ahead and combine the principal, which was 5,000, and that interest, which was 300. And that's going to come out to 5,300. Okay, for problem number 4, you place $15,000 into a savings account. There's the principal. You're putting that into an account. That represents the money you are investing. It's going to earn 1.5% interest. So there's your rate. 1.5 over 100. You need to make sure, just because it's a decimal doesn't mean you don't put it over 100. You still do. We're going to do this for a period of 12 years. So there's your time. Time is in years. They gave it to you in years. Okay, now the question, how much money should you have in the account at the end of 12 years? Is it asking for interest or total? Total, right? It doesn't say how much interest, it just says how much money should you have in the account at the end of 12 years. That's your total. It's asking for a total. So at the end, whatever we find for our interest, we're going to add it with that principal. So let's go ahead and find out the interest first. We're going to do 15,000 times 1.5 over 100 times 12. That's going to come out to 2,700. That's the interest. So you're going to take that 2,700 and you're going to add it with the 15,000. And that'll equal your total. So his final amount that he's going to have in his account is going to be 17,700. Okay, load it into Google Classroom. You've got an IXL on this skill. And then after you're done with that, you should finish your quizzes from yesterday if you haven't done so. If you did finish your quizzes, you should be going through your student view for math and identifying any IXLs or Delta Math that you are below completion for.